Thank you so much, Sue. Good morning, everyone. I am feeling so humbled and grateful to be here. As Sue said, this story is about my journey into the mental health world, but also into leadership. So, my life has always been colourful and amazing. Even though I've had some extremely hard struggles, I've been fun loving, free spirited, and positive. In my life, I have been on an ongoing journey, like many of us, to love myself, speak up for myself, heal, and to put myself first. I don't want you to see me as a victim in my story because I'm not. I am a warrior, and so are all of you. Like everyone, it is my belief that we all go through trauma, and I have been through trauma in my life. I have spent my life trying to work through things and heal. I grew up in an Australian Italian household. My nonni or my grandparents always had a heavy influence in my life to work hard, follow your passions, treat others with kindness, and never give up. When I was quite young, my mum and kindergarten teacher noticed that I loved playing with the dress ups and suggested that I should be put into performance school. I guess I want to paint a little bit of a picture of who I was before who I am now. I went to performance school for 4 years and loved it. I never wanted for anything growing up, but my mum and dad, who I love very much, used to fight when I was young, like many families. They split when I was 8, and in hindsight, I guess I held feelings that I didn't really understand of guilt and feeling responsible for the break. I became bitter towards my dad and for what he did to my mum. This was my first trauma. Years later, I came out as gay when I was 15. My mum was very supportive. In year 11, I did a speech on gay marriage and I received a standing ovation. This was such a big moment for me. At 18, I mustered up the courage to tell Dad that I'm gay. His reactions were horrible and so deeply hurtful. He disowned me. This stuck with me unconsciously for a long time and made me feel unworthy of love. And this was my second trauma. Still, I grew up looking pretty happy and like nothing was going on. But I didn't know how to speak up about my needs. I lacked boundaries with others and often would invite unhealthy relationships, always trying to fix others. And I had a savior complex that stemmed from me not being able to speak up. I often attracted men that treated me badly. I didn't know about boundaries back then. I loved school. In year 12, I decided that I wanted to do music production at RMIT. My family encouraged me to stay in Geelong, though, where I was born, and study something where I could have a career. And this was in Melbourne. I guess from my love of people and helping people, I decided to study psychology. But I did the course just for the look and to people please. I put on a brave face, but was sad all the time. I then went back to uni after a break and I was manic. I'm not sure if you guys know what manic is, but manic, I guess, is like acting erratically and not yourself, speaking quite fast. My mum found me at night baptizing myself with oil. She was really frightened, and and I thought that I was Jesus Christ or the chosen one. At 19, my journey with the mental health system, and my health issues began. My mum frantically called Headspace. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but mum managed to convince them to take care of me at home rather than go to hospital. It took time, but I managed to recover and bounce back. But I still felt like I had to people please, and I guess I had to feel like I was happy all the time. People sometimes called me manic, which would piss me off because I thought I was more than this word manic. I was happy naturally. My psychiatrist and case manager said that I was naturally eccentric, and I really appreciated that they got to know me properly. It took and then after all of this happened, Bartwan Health did an article on me and my recovery. It mentioned that professionals, loved ones, and early prevention are really important in someone's recovery, and I still believe this to this day. I became a youth mental health ambassador for Headspace and met Ruby Rose, who was also a mental health ambassador. This was a big deal, and I felt confident and resilient from this. My nonna would always try to tell me, "Don't burn the candle at both ends, Christopher." But much to nonna's dismay, I always burned the candle to a crisp. I became manic again. My mum and dad took me to Headspace, and my psychiatrist, I can remember her hand shaking as she dialed the phone to get me admitted into hospital for the first time. I was hospitalized for a month. Then I went home for 10 days. And in these 10 days, I met a man, an A&R rep, who had worked with Kylie Minogue, who helped me become a star in my eyes. But he took my money that I gave him and he ran away with it and he never refunded it. I was taken advantage of. But around this time, my dad actually went to a counselor to understand me being gay, and this really meant a lot. After hospital, I went to Park for some respite, and I talked to one of the nurses about doing childcare because I loved kids. I realized that, if I didn't lose everything, I would never have been open minded enough to try something different, such as childcare. From this, I always learned to be open minded and try new things. I went to the course and I really loved it. It allowed me to be me. And after an extremely difficult year of hospitalization, I achieved something. 2 weeks after finishing the childcare course, I got a job at a kindergarten. I was so proud of myself. And I always had the most beautiful treatment team, professionals and loved ones that really, really, really cared about me, that always looked out for me. And having these in your life can be life changing. Getting good connections and allowing for help and support is the key. It's vital. I learned to be vulnerable and authentic to heal. If I wasn't vulnerable, I couldn't heal. I worked in childcare for 3 years and I absolutely loved it. I could be the silly Chris, the fun Chris, dance with them, sing, you name it. They would pinch my cheeks. It was so beautiful. It gave me purpose and meaning. It gave me routine. It aligned with my values, which helped me stay well. And I learned to nurture and my inner child and have fun. Bipolar for me now, I sometimes call myself a bipolar bear. It's a gift and a superpower. My mind clocks out when I can't deal and then I reach out for support. My problems are hard when I share with others. I've also realized that no matter what my mood is and no matter what any of our moods are, we are all beautiful, we are worthy of love and worthy of connection. I then decided to move to London and take a big risk to step out of my comfort zone. I proved to myself that I could be free. It was the most incredible experience. I was independent, I was traveling the world, I was Chris, and it was beautiful. Once again, I proved to myself I was resilient. Whilst in London, my auntie suggested about applying for peer worker jobs, and I had no idea what this is about. She said to me that I could use my lived experience with mental health issues to connect and relate with others. I couldn't believe this was true, and the fact that it was a job. I didn't get any jobs in London, but I wasn't giving up. Once I got back to Australia, I found the role of a post discharge peer worker at the Alfred inpatient unit. I applied and I got the job. I was so ecstatic because I wasn't even sure whether I'd get it, but now, like, it gave me the ability to support others on their journey. And I was so proud and grateful for this opportunity because it was my dream job. In this role, I connect with people on the psychiatric ward and meet or call people post discharge for up to 28 days for peer support. I learned so much about myself, professionally and personally, when I started working in the field. I learned that it wasn't my responsibility to fix anyone else. I learned that we are all responsible for our own happiness. But most of all, listening and spending quality time with people, getting down to earth with them and being around them and amongst them and listening to them in a real and authentic way was what a good peer worker was all about. I learned about having boundaries, to speak my truth, and have good self care. When meeting clients in the community, I would get so much joy because it was so beautiful to see them blossom and become more and more themselves over time and be there along the way. I love seeing people grow. I love seeing people inspired. And I have a passion for making people feel included and like they belong because we all deserve to feel included and feel like we belong. Over time, I pioneered peer work in the inpatient unit. People understood more of what lived experience was. I did a speech on the audit, and it's an audit of the service, and people of all disciplines commended me on the value of peer work. 6 months into my job, I got into a relationship. I was psychologically, emotionally, and financially abused. He was my first serious relationship, and I thought this was all normal, but I guess I allowed it because I didn't know any better. I later found out that he was a narcissist, and even though he treated me so badly, he taught me so much, and I'm grateful for him. I vowed to never be a people pleaser again, or at least being a recovering people pleaser, and to speak my truth, even if it scares me. I was taught about what I didn't want and that I deserved so much better. I have been working for the Alfred for almost 4 years. In this time, I've achieved many great milestones that I'm happy to have achieved. Some of these include presenting to the CEO about peer work, the CEO of the Alfred, helping create better outdoor areas for consumers, and also having countless people say that I changed their life. This meant the world. I guess when you change someone's life, it's such a big deal too. And it doesn't matter how many people say that, it always means so much. Last year, though, to take you back, I became unwell. It had been 8 years since I had contact with the mental health system. Even with saying that, I was so ashamed. Perfectionist Chris, who was always happy, had fallen again. And I guess all those voices in my head of insecurity got to me. Before my relapse, though, my friends and colleagues and family all noticed me slipping, but I said, no, 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 I'm fine, I'm fine. I was dancing in the streets actually, and someone filmed me, and it went onto TikTok. At that time, it got 20,000 likes and almost 200,000 views. I thought I was going to be famous. I was then picked up later that night and hospitalized by the police for dancing in front of cars. So this was such a weird time for me. And I guess COVID has been so weird for us all. After coming off my high, I was severely depressed. I felt ashamed. I thought, how could this happen again? For so long, I would take medication with absolutely no thought that I would have another relapse again, but it happened, and I had to learn to accept it and feel my feelings out and allow myself however I wanted to feel. Earlier this year, I guess this is a bit hard to talk about, but I was suicidal and people around me didn't know what to do. I think they thought they needed to fix things for me or make things better, but just being there was enough. And I assured them that they just needed to listen. This is something we can all do for people who are finding it tough. A few times I turned to Lifeline. I talked to my psychologist. I cried, I vented, I cried. He explained to me that this was all a part of my growth as a person rather than a relapse. I liked the way he reframed this because he treated me as a human being and had that human to human connection. What I've learned through my ups and downs is that we should always treat ourselves with kindness and lower our high expectations. Even today, me doing this speech was outside of my comfort zone, but I had to lower my high expectations on myself to allow myself to do a natural speech. From this phase of my life, I've learned to survive and to do things that make me feel better. This stage of life taught me a lot about resilience and then how to have a toolbox about how to make myself feel more myself again and to cover myself. I don't fear sadness anymore. I let myself be sad and I do what I need to do to cover myself, to comfort myself, whatever it is that I need. We all, I want you to know, we all as a collective are resilient for coming this far, for coming through COVID 19. You should all be so proud of yourselves, each and every one of you, for always doing the best you can in any given moment, for persisting even when you're down. If there is one thing lockdown has taught us, it's the power of connection. We need each other to survive. Reach out and support each other. It is rewarding being there for others. But not long ago, just taking you back to August, I had a manic relapse again. In my mania, I realized how important it was to have a creative outlet. And even though I have gone through ups or downs, it is all still me. And I have so much to give and offer. I've made myself accountable for things that I didn't like, that I've done to others, and said sorry if I've needed to. And I've looked at these relapses and I've realized I'm only human. I had trauma to heal, just like all of us. From talking to a psychologist, I've healed by airing out my trauma, accepting it, and letting the baggage go. I now have a great relationship with my dad, which is truly a blessing. And I love all my family and friends so much. I was lucky and blessed enough to be offered a promotion in June this year. I am now the senior peer worker at the Alfred Inpatient Unit. The hard work I have done has been rewarded. This was a massive moment in my career and even in my personal life, and it proves that career pathways can be created for the peer discipline. In my day to day as a senior peer worker, I now have more class and weight than what I ever have had before when it comes to what I have to say. I participate in handovers and clinical reviews and share the peer lens in the multidisciplinary team. I also attend acute meetings at executive level so clinicians can hear the peer voice on the ward. I participate in quality care meetings to better the practice of the service, and having my participation allows things to form for consumers and carers projects that matter to them. I really enjoy speaking up for people on the inpatient unit, and I am passionate, as I've said, about inclusion and belonging and treating everyone with dignity and respect. I'm also down to earth with my clients. We are all the same. I am no better and no lesser than anyone. Everyone deserves to feel respected, heard, and treated with absolute kindness. I feel I can give back and make time for so many beautiful people and watch them grow. I oversee 3P workers on the ward and give them supervision. I help them train and upskill and support them in a variety of tasks as they can learn. It is important to make it is important to make my team feel supported and heard. I aim to motivate and inspire them to incite connection and positive change. I encourage them to do a diverse number of work tasks aligned with their interests and passions. This is to give variety and purpose to the team. And if they want to, they can attend a training session, sit in someone's doctorate review, be a part of the co-design of the service, or even be on the interview panel interviewing new staff. I am passionate about what I've learned to pioneer the peer discipline and have it fully embedded into the multidisciplinary team and workflow. I have brought my resilience to my leadership. I still interact with consumers on the ward and make time for them as part of my practice. Uh, it's just I still interact with consumers on the ward and post discharge for some of the time. I've learned a lot from my hospitalisation last year and my mental health hiccup recently. I find I have a refreshed lived experience, so I'm even more empathetic to consumers and as a leader. I find I listen more and don't need to give too much. I've learned to put myself first. I'm passionate about my job, but I've realised it is not my whole life. I have better boundaries, and I know I am not the be all and end all in someone's life. I be myself, and that is enough. I am present with people, and that is enough. We are always enough. It is always great getting feedback about peer support and knowing that I help people feel reassured and have a sense of hope, and that the team helps people feel reassured and have a sense of hope. I've learned in my work that being your authentic self is best, and people can relate to your vulnerability. Over the years, I've worked with people that have helped me heal too, which has been so incredible. I also do a variety of groups on the ward and still do groups such as conversation groups and dance groups. Dancing and talking always makes people feel better, and it's always nice when people say how it is so nice to do the dance and conversation groups. My aim is always to create a sense of community on the ward, and after COVID finishes, I would love to create community spaces where people can feel like they can belong, feel safe, nurture each other, and help each other grow. It's just such a privilege to be in this field, to see all these different people grow. And I'm really grateful that we are coming through this COVID time with so many things that we've learned about ourselves, about our needs, and how to be in tune with ourselves. But just remember, you matter. Your feelings matter. Please speak up. You deserve to be heard. I feel so lucky and privileged to be speaking here today. I feel so grateful to be where I am and to have the support I've had along the way. And I want to remind you of something that I've learned. Even in the dark times, your light is still shining. It may be dim, but there is still always light. And just know, say this to yourself: I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am resilient, I am strong, I am enough. I wrote these in my journal every single day when I thought that I would never recover and that I would never push forward. And I just want to say one last thing. I believe in you, each and every one of you. And please believe in yourself. When you believe in yourself, you're unstoppable. And always remember, you are never, ever alone. Thank you all so much for your time today. I feel so privileged and honored to be here. Many blessings and all the best coming out of this lockdown.